Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be with our next guest, Jennifer Bell. She is the director of the Academies of Nashville and Career and Technical Education at Metro Nashville Public Schools. How are you doing, Jennifer?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing very well. So we have a lot of good to talk about on your end with these academies that are really allowing students to fine-tune and develop in really powerful ways. And when you talk about career and technical opportunities as well, really, really cool what you're doing. But give us a little bit of history in terms of launching the academies and kind of bringing this to fruition.
Yeah, so we're celebrating our 15 years of the Academies of Nashville within our Metro Nashville Public Schools. And we're really one of the first school districts that said we're going to go wall to wall with academies. That means every student has an opportunity to engage in a pathway or an academy of their choosing, which was really unique in that educational structure. But 15 years ago, when we started looking at our graduation rates, we started looking at our discipline infractions, our attendance rates, and our student achievement, we knew that there had to be a change. It was a necessity. And so we had to look at how can we engage students and provide them with opportunities so that when they graduate out of our doors, they can go out and be successful, whether that be in college or in career. And so that's really where the Academies of Nashville were birthed 15 years ago. And that vision developed into a community-wide effort to really invest in the Nashville youth. The work that we're doing could not be done without the support of our business partners. It cannot be done without the support of our founders and our partnership councils. It is genuinely a community-driven effort.
Well, when you talk about hands-on opportunities, which we will with internships and job shadowing and, business and community leaders coming in and as public speakers and sharing their career and, the lessons they've learned, to your point, it very much is community infused, community engaged all throughout. So you have 35 different academies. I'm not going to ask you to list them all off the top of your head, but walk us through the variety of these academies.
Sure. So our academies are really designed when they were built to fruition. We really started looking at workforce. Where's those high demand, high wage, high skill jobs? And in doing so, we create these pathways. They look at them as if you're choosing a major when you're going into high school versus when you're going into college. And throughout those pathways, whether it is through an automotive, we have a lot of work in our STEM and engineering, digital design, journalism, healthcare. My list would go on and on because, like you said, there's over 35 of them. But it's designed to have something for everyone. And what's really cool about them is, let's say, for example, in my former experience, I was the principal of the Academy of Aviation and Transportation. I was actually afraid of flying, but I was still the principal of that academy. Now, what's unique about it is even if the student completes their pathway through graduation and they choose, this is not the career that I want to venture out into, they still develop so many 21st century skills that were so applicable to whatever career choice they choose that it is essentially a win no matter what direction they choose to go in. But we want to ensure that they've got the skills and they're also competitive. So if I go through the Academy of Aviation and I go on to the university level, ideally I'm already going to have some dual credit or some internship underneath my belt, which makes me more advanced to my peers who are also starting out in those same career majors.
It also, too, to your point on almost like choosing a major in college, it teaches them those independent skills as a youth in high school to be able to say, okay, I've got to make these choices. I've got to figure out what's best for me. And I've got to go in almost like that major and go down this path and make choices. And I think that's where at an earlier age, that becomes a really good confidence builder. So when they get to college, they're already in that mindset. And like you said, knowing that they can receive credit and get the dual enrollment, that's a cost savings for that student and that family, which is huge.
It is. And we're so grateful for the support of our university and colleges, from Nashville State to MTSU to TCAT, TSU, and so forth. There's so many opportunities for students to earn either those dual credits or those dual enrollment while they're still in high school, and they take those with them. In addition to that, then they have the industry certifications. You could exit out and go directly into the career force with an industry certification under your belt and be higher qualified in some of those high demand jobs.
How do you weave in the core components with the academy components, the specialized components? So in other words, the basics of the math and the reading and some of those core elements in with the obviously specialized classes. Talk about kind of weaving it all together and where the magic is created.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really kind of goes back to the birth of the Academies of Nashville, really designed around building stronger relationships. So much of student achievement, student success is founded in relationships. And so we started out in our first early years with creating these small learning communities. And these small learning communities, think of them as like a mini school within a school, where you've got a group of teachers who are all working in support of a group of students, versus we're all have a massive high school of over 2,000 students and we're trying to reach every child. But creating that smaller learning environment, which is really modeled off of the middle schools. Middle schools have those smaller learning environments. But in doing so, when you have those SLCs, as we call them, you have on a weekly basis where all of our teachers across the content areas, whether it's the career and technical education teachers, or it's the math teachers, the arts teachers, or the special education teacher, they're all coming together and they are working on how to best support students. And another piece of relationships is also creating relevance. So we are working together on a weekly basis to align our instruction so that we use this project-based learning model, where we're going across contents, and I can walk into my English class and then into my science class and then into my health science class, and we're going to be teaching a theme that's consistent across all those classes. So my takeaway is, oh, I just heard about this in my math class, or I'm going to be writing about my findings from my math class in my English class, and I'm doing a presentation in front of our business partners. So it's all inclusive, but it really creates that relevance of that. We can get rid of that infamous question that we've always had in education of, why am I doing that?
Right.
We no longer have to wonder.
What's something that you wish everyone knew about the academies?
Something I wish everyone knew is that this is a community effort. I think too often we look at our work and say, well, the school district is doing that. And it's not. This is a community-driven effort in which is possible because all of the support that we have from our business partners and volunteers. And so for anyone who is out there and interested in learning more about the Academy work or would like to engage, we want to connect. So that's one thing I would say. Another thing I would like for others to know about the Academies of Nashville is that the work that we're doing here is not operating in a silo. The work that we're doing here in the Academies of Nashville has become a national and internationally recognized effort. There are school districts all over this country and across the seas that are utilizing this model to transform their own secondary school experience.
Yeah, I love it. Let's talk about engagement because, as you alluded to, that's the whole magic to this. And so talk about the many different ways the community can help. And we mentioned before, even job shadowing, internships, career fairs, there's a lot of them. So how can we help?
Sure. So there's so many opportunities, and you mentioned a few of them. And so oftentimes we look at that ninth grade year as an opportunity for students to do that career exploration. We have our career fair. They're exposed to the various opportunities. It's also where they're building out those 21st century skills, the professionalism. And so whether you are a smaller business or you're a large corporation, you can engage through guest speaking, job shadowing. We're always looking for internships, work-based learning opportunities for students. Your expertise and your knowledge to be able to share with students, whether that is through the hands-on learning or whether it be in the classroom and providing some guidance on the instruction and supports. There are a lot of ways that we seek for our partners to engage. I will tell you the greatest asset that our partners bring to us is not money, it's their expertise. We don't look for money. We look for expertise, and we look for value added to our Academies of Nashville. So any opportunity that one of our business partners or organization has to invest in bringing their expertise to serve students, that's where we can align our work.
So I think the answer to this is going to be, we will happily accept anyone who says, hey, I want to be a part of this. And, you tell us what you're good at and we'll put you to, put that to good use. But what are the things that you're looking for on your end in terms of everything from robotics, engineers, the tech side, CPAs and marketing professionals? Like what sort of expertise are you looking for on that spectrum?
Sure. So we're always looking for highly qualified instructors, to lead this work. We need, and we require highly qualified professionals in our classrooms. So anyone with those passions to teach and passions to educate, who have an expertise, whether that be, we're seeing a lot in the fields of engineering, high demand as we see it Nashville evolving in general. We also have high demand in our healthcare professions, and so we have opportunities there. I will say that we are always looking for really focusing on our district as we're returning back from this pandemic that we're still in over the last 2 years, which has been incredibly difficult for our students, is we want to get them back into those experiential learning opportunities. We want to get them out there to do that hands-on learning. So we are specifically looking for more internship opportunities, job shadowing opportunities, and work-based learning opportunities.
What has been some of the feedback, the aha moment, the light bulb going off with the students that you've been able to see, obviously firsthand on your end, where, like you said, they come in and they realize, oh, wait a second, this applies over here and I can connect these dots and this is relevant over here. And now I'm problem solving in new ways. What's been kind of the cool evolution that you've seen with the students and their growth?
I think the greatest evolution I have seen is a belief that opportunities exist for me. I believe that too often I'm a first generation graduate, first person in my family to go to college. I'm one of the few who work in something other than a small business. My sphere of influence was limited to what opportunities existed for me. And I see that so often for our youth here as well, is that our sphere of influence limits us on what opportunities actually exist out there in the world and how are they obtainable and achievable. And through this work, I think that the aha moment has been for those youth who came in or that I met who really didn't have a direction. They really didn't believe that I can go to college or I can have a high skill, high wage job. But through their engagement, this academy work, to see those same students, much like myself, be a first-time graduate, to earn a college degree, to see those students who, in their ninth grade years, their career choices, to see those evolve over time. And the real aha moment is when I still run into my students today and I see them doing the very work that they were introduced to and developed skills to. I can't tell you how old I am, but 10 plus years ago.
What are some ideas for the businesses who say, I would love to do an internship. What would that look like? What could the students be doing? So what are a couple of just ideas or things that you think the students would be really good at doing that you could kind of illustrate for the businesses? Here are some things, and I'm thinking right off the bat, like social media audits. Like, students are really sharp and they can bring a lot of value. And so it doesn't take much once you start going down that path to realize, wow, I can put these students to good use. But what are some ideas on your end for businesses?
There's so many opportunities. And I think oftentimes what I would encourage our businesses is to think about is all of the entities that allow your business to function. So to say that we are only a audiovisual company, within that company, you probably have an HR department. You probably have some accounting work. You have some marketing. And so even in those professions, we're not necessarily concerned about that you offer only audio visual. We're concerned about what other opportunities within that business structure can we also welcome students to learn more about. So that is something I would really encourage our partners to think about when they're thinking of, we would like to provide some internship opportunities. And internship opportunities can occur in the summer. We have branded partners throughout our school district, and our branded partners are those who have made a fully invested into a specific academy. And in turn, that academy becomes branded with that business's name. For example, I'll use the U.S. Community Credit Union Academy of Business and Finance at McGavock High School. All right. Within our high school, and they're not the only one, we have one at the Tennessee Teachers Credit Union over Antioch. We have a bank. We have a fully functioning bank in which students beginning at the ninth grade level can begin not taking out loans, but developing savings accounts and checking accounts. And they're getting that experience throughout the school year. And in the summer, they're working at those credit unions, and those credit unions are supporting them through completion of their college. And then you're welcoming back opportunities to bring on students who have already had years of training with your business and organization onto being your full-time staff. So there's a lot of opportunities for our businesses to create pathways and pipelines to building great professionals in their business.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and wrap up with contact information. So your website, phone number, email, where would you send everyone who says, I want to be involved? Where do they go?
Yeah, absolutely. I would encourage you to check out our website. Our website is the Academies of Nashville. It's www.mmps.org / Academies of Nashville, but a Google search will get you there. Also encourage you to follow us on Twitter. We have a Twitter account. Feel free to leave us a message, and by all means, you can reach out to myself, and I'd be happy to connect and talk about more on ways that we can engage and support.
Well, Jennifer, greatly appreciate all you and your team do. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.